Coming to you live from my friend Branton's house. It's the Matt L podcast. And now, here's the podcast that the survivors don't go on when they're voted off. The Matt L podcast. Welcome everyone. Now, without any further ado from me, let's get to our first guest. He's a good friend of mine, and we're in a men's small group together, Branton. So Branton, I'm so glad that you are that you're my first guest.
I'm glad I'm your first guest too, man.
That's a great shirt.
Thank you.
How have you been?
Been good. Looking forward to this.
So, I'm glad that you're the first guest because you're a person who shows people grace. In the short amount of time that I've gotten to know you, I've noticed that you show grace to everyone. Did you show grace to people before you became a Christian? Was that always how you were?
I appreciate it, man. That's nice of you to say. Became a Christian when I was pretty young, so
An ongoing tension between truth and grace, and yet you managed to show grace to people. So you're getting married this Saturday, right?
I am.
Being in love is the best feeling in the world, isn't it?
It's a good feeling, man. I believe love is more of a decision than a feeling. But it feels good right now.
That's great. So Branton, what has worked in your relationship with Brittany that maybe didn't work in some of your other relationships?
Well, she liked me. Most of my relationships have been one way, either I had feelings for the other person and they did not reciprocate,
Yeah.
or they had feelings for me and I wasn't interested. So it's good when both parties are interested.
You told me one time that your fiancée Brittany was the same as when you met her, and I think that's really key, like consistency. You want the person when you're going to be in a relationship with them long term, or when you're going to marry them, certainly, to be consistent and to be the same person. Can you talk a little bit about your job in the world of insurance?
Sure. Work for State Farm, the greatest insurance company in the world.
I don't know about that, but go on.
We'll get to that.
I used to have State Farm, and now I have Allstate, but go on.
Sorry, man.
I know. Not as sorry as I am. Okay, so you're listening to the Matt L podcast. This is the first episode. I'm live in my friend Branton's house. He and I are in a men's small group together, and we just took a quick break to drink some water. And just as a quick programming note, if you have any ideas or suggestions for people who could be guests on this podcast, feel free to leave me a comment, send me a message on Facebook or Twitter. Now, let's see. Let's get back to the show, I guess, the podcast. So, Branton, is there anything else that you would like to say to our listeners?
Yes, absolutely. It was something I would like to say to you, Matt, is wish you all the best with your podcast. I think it's awesome that you're pursuing your dream and that you're taking action. And I think you're a very interesting guy. I think your listeners are in for a real treat.
Well, so do I, but I'm biased. All right, scoot over.
All
right. Close this podcast.
All right.
So that they can see the two of us.
Okay.
I'd love to do some plugs, talk about a couple more things, and if I do it this way, then the listeners can also see your facial expressions, your reactions. Because of No Shave November, to raise awareness for prostate cancer, my friend Kelly and I are abstaining from shaving on our days off from work.
Awesome.
And then the more serious plug is that
Yeah, we've all obviously all heard of Hurricane Sandy, and actually one of the survivors, RC, she lives in Zone A in New York City, and she was evacuated and had to leave her apartment or her house. So if you buy your groceries at Publix, or if, like Branton, you shop at Kroger, you can donate to the Red Cross through CareForce. Maybe you could donate $1 or $5 to help people like RC who have been affected by Hurricane Sandy.